Pride and Prejudice. I know that just saying the title out loud makes our listeners smile. People have deep connections with the novel by Jane Austen and two very popular on screen adaptations. Now, it's been said that the 2005 movie is for millennials, what the 1995 miniseries is for Gen X. Some people are divided between the two versions, but I say, why can't we love both? I'm Carly, and I'm here with my sister Cayla, and today we're going to talk about them. So, Cayla, what do you think about that?
I love both of them. I love the 2005 version, but I also just think that there's no point in really comparing them because they kind of are, so different. So like movies, there's less space, so you got to get more creative and artistic, and then the miniseries has a lot more room to be more, true to the book and the story. So I don't know, it's just I don't see the point in comparing them. They're just so different. They're both so good. Come on, guys. They're both so great.
I have to agree. And yeah, so I read Jane Austen's novels in middle school, fell in love. And then it was in high school when the 2005 movie starring Keira Knightley came out. And I remember it being big that year. She got an Oscar nomination. All my friends loved the movie. And it wasn't until college that I watched the miniseries. My roommates and I decided to watch it for Galentine's Day one year. And it's funny because I had seen Colin Firth as Mr. Darcy in Bridget Jones' Diary before seeing him as the Mr. Darcy in Pride and Prejudice.
Same for me.
But that's just the way it went for us. But because we both saw the 2005 movie first, Cayla, let's start with that one. Okay.
I mean, can we just talk about the opening scene, how immaculate it is, like with the music and the lens flare? Because I know a lot of people give a bad rap to the lens flare, but it's so beautiful and aesthetically pleasing, and also it happens in the real life, in real world. Like you're walking down the street during sunset, and boom, the sun's in your eyes. So I mean, why not?
I completely agree. And I noticed it more now than ever, probably like the last time I watched it. And yeah, it's beautiful. It doesn't bother me at all. I love it. And then coupled with the Oscar nominated music score by Dario Marianelli, it's just peaceful, lovely. I feel like the whole movie has like a golden hour filter on it. I
It
just
does. It's epic.
epic. So, speaking of the beginning, I like how they, in this film, directed by Joe Wright, they introduce the five sisters. You see Lizzie reading and being thoughtful, enjoying nature. And then it shows Mary at the piano. Jane is saying, like, watch out to Kitty and Lydia as they run down the stairs giggling, which I feel like they just do throughout the whole movie. They're just giggling the whole time. um, I have to ask, which sister do you relate to the most of the Bennett sisters?
I'm glad you asked. Well, I would have to say Jane. We don't look anything alike, but definitely was a lot shyer when I was younger, and people had a hard time reading me, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And I just think that's kind of similar to how Jane is described.
Yeah. But then I knew you very well. So I knew your, motives and what you were thinking. Yeah. It's kind of like Jane Bennett. I love that.
What about you?
I mean, I love all the sisters. I don't really have a strong affinity to one of them. I don't think I'm like one of them. If you wanted to know, I would say I'm more of an Eleanor Dashwood from Sense and Sensibility, but we'll talk about other Jane Austen adaptations later on in the series. But I mean, I love all of them. And I, on my period drama style Instagram, I often run polls and ask questions in my posts. Which Bennett sister do you feel like you're the most like? And I get a lot of Kitty and Mary, believe it or not. I think they're, a little bit behind the scenes, a little more maybe misunderstood, but yeah, and then hardly anyone says Lydia. Poor Lydia. She's just a little too flirtatious, maybe.
Well, Carly, I would have to say when you were in middle school, Carly was definitely very Lydia.
Okay, that's true. I had a phase. I had a Lydia phase. I was definitely boy crazy.
But who doesn't?
I probably threw a few handkerchiefs on the ground to see if they pick them up, or like in Clueless, where she pushes her pen off the side of the desk. But and that's an Emma reference. But anyways,
The Emma
uh, well, because Clueless is Emma.
Oh, that's right. Uh,
But anyways, um, so yeah, and the actresses are. I think the cast is great in this movie. I mean, Rosamund Pike as Jane Bennett. She's kind of like Regency Barbie. She's beautiful and perfect. Then we have Jenna Malone as Lydia, Carrie Mulligan as Kitty, and Carrie Mulligan. This was, I think, her first big movie, and now she's a period drama queen. So it's cool to look back
yeah,
at
I
this
didn't.
one.
I think when I first saw this, I didn't really know who she was, and then I came back later and was like, "Wait, that's Carrie Mulligan."
Yeah, and Tallulah Riley plays Mary, and she had a few scenes in Westworld, so she's still acting, and it's kind of cool. And then we have the three potential suitors, the three romantic leads.
Oh yes.
Who do you think is more swoon-worthy, Cayla? Do you think it's Matthew McFadden as Mr. Darcy, Simon Woods as Charles Bingley, or Rupert Friend as Mr. Wickham?
Well, I would have to say, unpopular opinion, Charles Bingley.
Do tell more.
I just think he's so sweet and smiley and wholesome. I just feel like he has a very fun energy, at least in the 2005 version, for sure.
Yeah, you're such a Jane.
I know, I guess I am. I didn't realize. But what about you? I'm curious. Maybe this will answer who you are as a Bennett sister.
Oh no, I just realized because you did call me Lydia, and I really do think that I'm a bad judge of character and I'm pretty naive. And I think I would be fooled and I would be charmed by Mr. George Wickham.
Well, there you have it. That answers that question. Carly is Lydia.
But I'm not really.
Yes, you are. Anyway,
No. But yeah, that there you have it. We picked Mr. Bingley and Mr. Wickham. We didn't even pick Fitzwilliam Darcy. How did we do that?
I don't know, but he's got plenty of love, so
That's
I mean,
true.
girls would choose him.
Yeah. So Matthew McFadden, he was 31 at the time. Now he's winning all the awards for Succession, and he's just dreamy. And he had been in at least one other BBC miniseries before this movie or around that time, but I really didn't know him. Um, and he was just, mysterious, tall, dark, handsome, mysterious on the screen. And he has such chemistry with Keira Knightley.
They have the best chemistry, and they have created so much tension in this movie that it's just you could cut it with a knife. Or you
Yeah,
or is the saying you couldn't cut it with a knife because it's so tense?
I don't know. I was gonna let you
I feel like that makes more
roll
sense.
with that
Anyway,
one. You could cut it. I
you
don't
couldn't even cut it with a knife.
know. Moving on. So, yeah, no, Mr. Darcy's like the ideal, but they just don't. He doesn't make a good first impression at all. Which, by the way, title of the first draft of Jane Austen's story was called First Impressions. And yeah, he and Elizabeth, they just get off to a bad start. She overhears him at the Meryton ball say that she's not handsome enough to tempt him. But you still notice when he's walking through the assembly hall, he sees her. He like does a double take at her when she's
Yeah, I mean that's his pride. He doesn't want to admit that the little country folk are interesting him to him.
yes. But yeah, no, you're right. No, you're right.
So, Carly, when do you think it was in the story that Mr. Darcy actually fell in love with Lizzie? Because it was definitely before she did, right?
Yeah, I definitely think it was before she did, or before she even was aware of her any feelings. But yeah, I think it was when he's staying with his friend at Netherfield, and poor Jane gets sick, and Elizabeth goes and stays with everyone at Netherfield, and she has such witty remarks to everything that he says and everything that Caroline Bingley throws at her. She's just so comfortable in her own skin.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the costumes. Oscar nominated by Jacqueline Duran. and who's nominated even this year for an Oscar. Works so well with the director Joe Wright. And I read that Joe Wright, he actually disliked the Regency Empire waisted gowns. So what he did is he did some research, discovered when Austen wrote the first draft of her novel, which was 1797. And in that time period, the style of dress would, the high Regency empire waisted gowns would only be worn by the most fashionable members of society. So you get your Caroline Bingley in this one, played by Kelly Riley, wearing it very high waist. But then the Bennett sisters, the waistline's a bit lower. And I don't know, I kind of feel that just because I know I don't think it would be flattering on me to wear such a high waisted gown. So I do kind of like it.
I think it would. Yeah, and I definitely noticed that in the miniseries, they definitely had a bit more of the classic Regency era. I
Mm-hmm.
did a little digging myself about this. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah, please tell me.
Well, so I didn't know this, maybe our listeners do, but apparently the Regency era fashion was very heavily influenced by the Greek and Roman era style, and it was kind of all the rage during that time. And that's why you see like they kind of look like statuesque. You know, if you look at Greek statues, they've got the little ringlets around their forehead and then got the empire waist and the
Mm-hmm.
sleeves and the long draping dress going down their
Mm-hmm.
legs. And maybe that's why it's called the empire waist. Hmm.
There we go. And when you said that, it made me think of in Emma when Emma Woodhouse is drawing Harriet Smith and, kind of in all the movie adaptations sets her up to look like a sort of like a Roman Greek
Yeah.
goddess.
Yeah, she totally does.
Thinking back to the tension we were talking about between Elizabeth Bennet and Mr. Darcy, there's this scene in the rain and they're under like a pergola and he proposes to her and they almost kiss. It's just so fun to watch that scene.
It is. I mean, everybody talks about that scene because there's so much tension and they're just so perfectly casted, I think. And they just did such a good job.
Yeah, that scene, I feel like they're really sparring. They're just throwing things back at each other. And it's very realistic. I like that. And of course, by this point, Elizabeth Bennet has had two horrible marriage proposals. We have to talk about Mr. Collins, played brilliantly by Tom Hollander. I mean, I think he's kind of a scene stealer. He's a fantastic actor, maybe an underrated actor.
What a superbly featured room and what excellent boiled potatoes. Many years since I've had such an exemplary vegetable. I'm sorry, I had to do it.
No, I mean, that quote, I love every time it shows up on Instagram or whatever.
Yeah,
It
I've
makes
seen a
me laugh.
post. Someone was like, the only thing to say at Thanksgiving this year.
He's great. And then Mr. Darcy's proposal is not much better. He says, um,
Oh my
he
gosh, I hate his even more. His proposal's worse. Because
said
he's like, well, even despite better judgment. Ugh, how
exactly.
condescending. How dare you? The arrogance, the pride.
Yes. And he, you know, talks about her family. However, her family is quite embarrassing. But I do like how he says that you and your sister, I'm excluding you from this. Like you and Jane, you're great, but the rest of your family is an embarrassment.
I know, how harsh. I mean, they know. They you don't need to tell them.
It's just I almost feel for Elizabeth Bennet in that time because she's already embarrassed.
I know.
But yeah, to say that he likes her against his better judgment,
Ugh, that is not swoon-worthy at all.
not swoon worthy at all. But yeah, so of course we have these great quotes from Jane Austen, and we have to mention though that the screenplay is well done by Deborah Moguk. I hope I'm saying that correctly. And Emma Thompson actually received a special thanks credit at the end of this movie because she helped with the script. Did you know that?
No.
So she won, keep in mind, so she won an Oscar for the screenplay of the 1995 Sense and Sensibility, which is an amazing version of Jane Austen's first published novel. And I guess I feel like I could just see them calling Emma Thompson in for her expertise. And she actually helped two scenes. So there's the scene where Charlotte Lucas tells Elizabeth Bennet on the swing that she's about to marry Mr. Collins. And Elizabeth looks a bit disappointed in her, but then Charlotte Lucas just explains her reasons, and you got to feel for her. And the other scene that Emma Thompson helped with is the one where Elizabeth Bennet is trying to tell her aunt and uncle and Mr. Darcy about Lydia's disappearance with Mr. Wickham. And you'll notice Keira Knightley, she's walking in and out of the room. She can't even bring herself to read the letter, and she's crying. And I love that because I feel like it's very Emma Thompson. I can picture Emma Thompson doing that if she were in the role.
No, I totally can too. That's really cool. I didn't know that.
Yeah. And we will definitely cover some movies with Dame Emma Thompson because she's fantastic.
It's like the Meryl Streep of Great Britain.
The greatest of all time.
Britain or Emma Thompson.
Great Britain is the greatest of all time. No, and another Dame worth mentioning in this, we have Dame Judi Dench. She's Lady Catherine de Bourgh, and what a powerful. I mean, she's only in a couple scenes, and she's just such a powerhouse.
I love her in this movie. She's a little scary, but
A little frightening.
delivers for sure.
Yeah. And this is okay. So this is a Jane Austen quote. It's from the book and it's mentioned in both versions. Are the shades of Pemberley to be thus polluted? It's just, I love that.
It was great.
That might be my favorite quote from the whole movie. um,
Carly, what is your favorite scene from the movie?
from the 2005 movie, I have to go with the Netherfield ball scene because, and even from the before that, when they're getting ready and you have Jane and Elizabeth getting ready, fixing up their hair all pretty. And then it cuts to Lydia and Kitty and they're, corseting up each other. And then the scene at the ball, and it's all done in one shot, which is like a Joe Wright trait. So it's panning around the room at Netherfield. You get to see all the people having a good time and talking and laughing. And then you just catch all these little funny moments too, whether it's Mrs. Bennet, eating and laughing, and she kind of flicks some food on a poor man's jacket. Um,
I
and
love
then if yeah, and then when they have Mr. Collins and he's holding a little flower. I mean, I just love the whole ballroom scene, but we have to talk about, of course, the dance between Elizabeth Bennet and Darcy because it's impressive that it was all done in one shot. You can just see the camera just taking it all in.
That's
The music,
crazy. I didn't even realize it was all one
yeah,
shot 'cause it has such a natural feel to it. You don't
yeah,
even
yeah.
you don't even get distracted by that, which is great.
No, it's not a distraction. It's just even once you notice it, it's even better. And the dance between them, the music is amazing. The the people around them just disappear for a moment. I mean, that's an iconic scene.
That is just so creative. See, that's kind of an example of how creative you can get when you're making films as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to the miniseries.
Yeah, no, it's true. And they're sparring at that moment too. I really feel like they're just going back and forth. And how could they not fall in love with each other in that moment?
No, I love it. Yeah, I mean, it's epic. That scene is so epic.
I always feel bad though for Mary playing in both versions, playing the piano and everyone laughing at her.
I know
You
it
got
was
to feel for
actually it
Mary.
was even more painful though in the 95 version, I will have to say.
Yeah, a bit painful. But I like how in the 2005 you get to see Mr. Bennett kind of go and comfort her afterwards.
Oh,
He kind of feels bad
she's
for
such
stopping her.
she's such the black cat of the family, you know. She's in a
People
house full of golden doodles and she's the black.
But you know what? People like her and as a character, and you just have to think of what happens too after Lydia's gone off and gotten married, and Jane and Elizabeth. What happens to Mary and Kitty? Um,
Yeah,
I think,
I have thought about that. It's like because at the end you just see them, they're the only ones left.
yeah. And I think Mary would have been happy with Mr. Collins. I think that in that scene where Mr. Collins comes to propose to Elizabeth, you can see her looking at him from the side, like, why isn't anyone paying attention to this poor man? And I think if he had asked her, she would have said yes.
I think you mean Cousin Collins.
Yeah. Yes. Um, and then Kitty, I think she's going to flourish once Lydia leaves her side. Like, I think Kitty's, that's her opportunity to really come into her own.
Yeah, she's still so young. She's got plenty of time to come into her own.
I do think in both versions, I like how Kitty's like the watchdog of the family. Like she's the one who's always noticing who's coming up the path, and she goes and alerts everyone, oh, so and so's coming. It's in
Oh,
both versions. I think it's cute.
that's cute.
um Other cute moments, this is kind of random, but I just have to say it. In the 2005 movie, Keira Knightley as Elizabeth Bennet eating an apple. I don't know. I've always noticed this because I feel like when I eat an apple, I'm just,
Chomping
scar-
away.
chomping away. But Kira's leaning up against a beautiful tree. She's touring the countryside with her uncle and aunt, and she's cut the apple down the middle and she's just kind of nibbling it on the side. And she looks so elegant. And I tried to copy her now when I'm in public eating an apple.
I never noticed that, but I'm gonna go back and watch. That's cute.
And another random thing, I swear, Elizabeth Bennet, played by Keira Knightley, looks at Mr. Wickham's butt
When?
when they're in a ribbon shop in Meriton and they've just met. And I swear she's looking at his butt.
Didn't notice that.
Any other little details you want to mention about the 2005 movie?
Yes, so I know that there's a lot of debate about all the casting choices for this movie, but I think one of the ones that I find interesting is the argument whether a lot of people don't really, some people, not a lot of people, but some people think that Rosamund Pike, that she wasn't the best choice to play Jane Bennett. But I've always thought she was great, but I stumbled upon some Instagram posts and someone made a good point. They were like, she's she is the perfect Jane Bennett because her looks are very a combination of classic beauty, but also some etherealness qualities, and she's kind of it kind of gives her a mysterious look to where you can't really read her that well, but she still has a bit of that classic beauty in her. And so that explains why Darcy, like, he just thought he couldn't tell that she was really in love with Bingley.
Right, right.
So some people think that's why she makes the perfect Jane Bennett, and I have to agree.
I love her in the role. She's just she's beautiful. She fits the part. I do kind of want to slap her sometimes, and it's just the character, like because she's not giving Mr. Bingley anything to work off of. So I do kind of almost see Mr. Darcy's point of view. If I was looking out for my friend, and she's just standing there staring
No,
at it.
I know, I see your point, but I also just can relate to that, especially like in high school. Like if a guy was talking to me or if I liked a guy, like you would have no idea I was interested.
Mm-hmm.
And I could barely say anything to them. So like
Oh.
I can't help but relate.
But then I love how she kind of breaks down at the end when Mr. Bingley's finally proposing to Jane, and she just
Oh,
breaks down. She's just smiling
I know.
and can't hold back her tears. I also noticed a thing. In that scene, she kind of like starts to put her hand over her mouth, and that's a family trait. If you look through the whole movie, Mr. Bennet definitely does it.
Mm.
J- I mean, Elizabeth does it. Mrs. Bennet, they all kind of like put their hand over their mouth. Like, I
Oh,
don't know. It's
I never
interesting.
noticed that. But yeah, now that I think about it, I do recall seeing them all do that.
Mhm. Mr. Bennet is played by Donald Sutherland, who is in a lot of classic movies, great actor. Brenda Blevin plays Mrs. Bennet. I love her as Mrs. Bennet. I mean, she just conveys everything, like the this just desire to have your five girls married, but then at the end, when they do start getting married, you see her, she's just sad that they're leaving at the same time.
Yeah, she's hilarious. She's definitely got that Mother Goose kind of quality to her, just kind of running around all crazy and looking after her little goose babies.
Oh.
But I love her. She's so entertaining in this, and I would have to say I like her version a lot better than the 95 version.
Yeah, they're both good, but this one, I don't know. It's just there's a little less of her too. So when she does, when you do get your Miss Bennett moments, it hits a bit harder.
Maybe it was the direction, or maybe it's just her acting style, but she's just so believable, and she has a very natural feel to being that nagging mother. That the other 95 version, it's almost like she's rehearsing or saying lines, and
Ah,
it's almost got like a theatrical vibe to it,
okay.
and
I'm
she's
with you.
good at it, but it's just the movie, she seems like she's like, okay, yeah, this reminds me of my mom. You know?
Fair enough. But I do love both Mr. Bennett's um, in the miniseries as well. And because you get to see, well, in both versions, you get to see Mr. Bennett's special relationship with Elizabeth Bennet. Like they're confidants, they can talk to each other about anything.
She's the favorite.
Definitely the favorite. Um, yeah. So we've started to compare the movie to the miniseries a bit more now. So maybe we just go there and we can always come back to the '05 movie. So let's talk about the 1995 miniseries, directed by Simon Langton, screenplay by Andrew Davies. And I'm a huge fan of Andrew Davies because whenever I just look up a BBC miniseries that I love, he's he's the writer. He also, fun fact, co-wrote the Bridget Jones Diary screenplay.
Oh, no wonder we like that so much.
Yeah. And that one has Emmy-winning costume design by Dinah Collin. And our very own Elizabeth Bennet from that adaptation, Jennifer Ely, won the BAFTA for her performance. So, I mean, this miniseries is just, it's so beloved. So many people love it. That's the same thing that I said twice. Um,
Well, I mean, they'd love it.
uh,
We gotta tell everybody that it's love.
and I do wonder what it would have happened if I watched it sooner, but I'm glad I was a bit older when I watched it. I think I was able to appreciate it more.
Yeah, I regret not watching it sooner,
Oh,
honestly.
really?
Because honestly, I think it's great, but a lot of movies, especially the ones made in the 90s,
Mm-hmm.
I have this nostalgia when I watch them. And
Mm-hmm.
fortunately, I don't have that when I watch
I
this
see.
because I've only recently watched it for the first time, unfortunately. The 2005 one, I definitely have some nostalgia for.
I get you. I
But
understand.
being said, maybe it's for the best because I can give it my honest opinion.
Yeah, you can look at it maybe more objectively. But anyways, I mean, anyone who watched it back then, I mean, there was so much buzz about it. Also, just because of Colin Firth as Mr. Darcy, it was like the role he was born to play. So much so that he repeated it in Bridget Jones' Diary, and
I just love
um,
it.
I
I
know
love it.
he is Mr. Darcy for probably maybe over 50% of the world consider him the best Darcy. Um,
He's so handsome. He's very swoon-worthy.
he is, and he just very rarely breaks character. Like you don't see his shell break until I feel um, Elizabeth visits Pemberley.
Hmm.
You don't really see anything in the eyes of Mr. Darcy, not even when he's proposing in this 95 miniseries version. I feel like in the 2005 movie, you see Matthew McFadden sort of comes out of his shell a little bit earlier, like with the hand flex scene.
Oh my gosh, we didn't even talk about the hand flex. Hold on. Rewind. Rewind. Oh my gosh, how amazing. And I know for a fact I've heard that that was just a complete accident.
Yeah, no, and then the director just like knew it was golden when it
Mhm.
happened and zoomed in.
Yeah, and what do you that's what I want to ask. So what do you think that hand flex represents from to Darcy? Like why did he do that? What was his mindset?
I think kind of just what I was talking about. So like so it's involuntary. He has just touched Elizabeth Bennet's hand, helped her get into the carriage, and he he just kind of involuntary does the hand flex because he touched her and he realizes I love her. She's leaving my side. And I think that he couldn't help himself. It was just kind of a physical reaction. But
Yeah.
then I think that's when you start to realize like he's breaking down a bit.
Yeah.
What's your take on that?
Oh. Oh. Well, so I think that I kind of agree with you, but I also think at that time he wasn't really sure what the hand flex meant, but he just knew that when he touched her, he felt something. And at that point, I feel like he still wasn't sure if he was annoyed by her or if he was like intrigued by
Uh,
her. But I think it sparked something in him where he was like, she, where there's where there's anger,
smoke.
there's passion or
Where
something.
there's smoke, there's fire.
Where there's anger, there's passion.
Okay. No, no, no. I really like your point. So like yeah, so he reacted to it and it could have been an annoyance thing. It could have been basically he wasn't indifferent.
Yeah. And indifference is the opposite of love. The opposite of love is not hate, it's indifference.
Ooh, who said that?
Google. No, Ellie Wiesel. Yeah, so there was something there. Anyway, let's go back to 95. Fast forward.
Okay, so the hand flex is comparable to the wet shirt lake scene.
Oh yeah, see that's one thing. Oh five's got nothing on 95 when it comes to Darcy in the wet shirt.
So much so that they made a statue of him
Where?
in Great Britain.
Oh my gosh, I want to go.
No, I don't know if it's there anymore.
What happened to the statue?
They took it down. But
Oh,
anyways,
they took it down.
no, you have to
What?
look up the statue. It's kind of just because I think statues are kind of frightening.
Oh my God, this one is hilarious. No, they had to rescue it. It was tilting.
Oh.
Oh my gosh. Oh, this is funny.
Yeah. And I believe it was in London where they also made a statue of Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic Park with
Oh,
his shirt
oh my
undone.
gosh, they've got the best statues over there.
Anyways, so I think that, yeah, it's safe to say that Colin Firth was born to play the role of Mr. Darcy. Sort
Oh,
of,
I'm so sorry. I did
it's
not.
okay. Go ahead.
That scene where I guess they're at the Bingleys or or maybe Pemberley, and um, the 95 version, and Lizzie's playing outside with the dog.
Oh, yeah.
Darcy's looking at the window. The way she hops with the
Yeah.
dog, it cracks me up. Oh, I love it. Okay, anyway.
Okay. Okay. Um, no, it is funny. I laugh too. Okay. Um, Kira Knightley said in an interview that she had a huge obsession with the 95 miniseries growing up. And, you know, she was a huge fan of the novel as well, but she watched the show over and over again. And she was even reluctant to play Elizabeth Bennet because she didn't want to, she wasn't sure she could do it justice after Jennifer Ely's performance. I think that you can see in certain scenes, Kira paying homage to Jennifer Ely in her mannerisms and sometimes the way she speaks. Like I feel like she speaks even in a deeper, lower register than she does normally. Um, I notice this especially in the scene where she's playing the piano at Rosings, and she looks up at Mr. Darcy to kind of, scold him for the first time they met. And I don't know, there's something about that scene. I think she's doing.
Definitely. No, I noticed it for a fact in the scene when Darcy's confessing his love to her, and she, because I watched them back to back, and Keira Knightley sounds just like her, especially when she's
Yeah.
like, the last person I would ever think to marry. Like, that's exactly the way she says it.
Yes, no, yeah.
I love it. Great job, Kira.
But then she still brings her own, you know, back to the 95 miniseries. Um, what do you think about the rest of the cast? So we have Susanna Harker as Jane Bennett.
I think she's sweet. She's definitely portrays the sweet side of Jane well. I think she did a good job.
Yeah. Yeah, no, a lot of people, back to what you said about Rosamund Pike's performance, I think a lot of people really like Susanna Harker in the role and say that she looks like what you were saying with the Greek and Roman look.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say too, is when I was doing my research, it was because of her, because apparently a lot of people think that she's the perfect Jane because she represents the Regency era style to a T. She looks like if you put that character in those oil paintings from Greek or Roman times or referencing those times, she looks just like one of those
Mhm.
Grecian ladies.
Up for debate, which Jane Bennett do you like the most? Or you like both? Because we
I
like
like
both.
both.
And I love Crispin Bottom Carter as Charles Bingley. I think he is adorable. I might even like him more than the other Mr. Bingley.
No.
I find him so cute. Oh, Anna Chancellor as Caroline Bingley. I think her performance is amazing in this. I just, I don't know. There's something about her.
No, she does good. I loved Kelly Riley as Mrs. Bingley. Um, and she's Beth, if you know, you know. But I love that actress, and I think she did a great job. She carries herself so, elegantly, and she doesn't have to say a lot. It's just all in her expressions. What she's thinking. I just love it. Whereas the one in 95, it's a lot more verbal.
No, that's a good point. She does have I mean, you can just see when she's trying to put Elizabeth Bennet down right in front of everyone's face, but I don't know. I still love her in that role. And her sister is in this role. So we have the full Bingley family in this version where they just don't even give the second sister a part in the 2005 movie. And I like it too because to me, it reminds me of Cinderella stepsisters in the way that they dress and the way they act.
No, that's true. So speaking of Caroline Bingley, when Jane's sick and Lizzie's in there and they're all um I think it stood out to me more in the actually both versions, or it might be the 2005 version, but she goes in that room with them and she just starts reading while they're all just like talk. Oh yeah, it was the 95 version. And her attitude, and she was just reading, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, that's just wild to me." Because you wouldn't do that nowadays, go to someone's house and not like talk to them. You just sit there and read in front of them.
I think I'm going to start doing that when I'm in an uncomfortable situation. I think I'm just going to bring a book and just open it up and read it. I love that.
I know her attitude, and then Caroline mentioned something about how she was, and then she closed the book and was like, "No, ma'am, I'm not like that at all." I was like, "Okay."
I love that whole scene when she does do that, but I also think if you think about it, she's been there for a while. We don't even I can't remember how many days have passed that she's kind of stuck there at Netherfield. She wants to be there for Jane, but she's having to put up with Caroline Bingley. So I don't know. I think reading the book was a smart way to go.
Definitely. And But I will say again, I loved 2005 Miss Bingley. Did you like her or?
I do, but I find her she just so modern looking to me. I
Oh,
don't know, like
see, I think they
her
did a great.
fashion.
I think they dressed her up really nice. Like she looked like she was back then to me.
I feel like no one from that time period would wear that dress that she wears.
Oh, so it was a dress.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't know that.
Wait, what? What?
I thought you were talking about her face and everything.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Okay, so you don't think the costume was very accurate for her
Right. So I think that
in the 2005 version.
in the 2005 version, they went way too modern with Caroline Bingley's
Mhm.
costuming, in my opinion.
It was pretty though.
I don't love it.
Okay. Okay. Agree to disagree.
I prefer in the 95 miniseries those lovely headbands with feathers coming out of them that the sisters wear, which is also a fashion element in the Poldark series. Um,
Ooh, can't wait to talk about that.
so, comparing the two adaptations a bit more, both Darcy's have this hand on their hip stance, which just shows how proud they are. And I love it. They also kind of have these moments where they're just staring at Elizabeth from across the room in
Well,
kind of a creepy
in
way.
particular, Colin Firth, he has that look. Oh my gosh. When she looks up and he's just those dark brown eyes and he's just staring at her. Oh, swoon. Colin Firth, man, he's got that look.
That's why I actually don't like it when they cast Colin Firth in more villainous roles. I like him. I think I just like him in as the romantic lead.
Oh yeah, he's got to be the sweet, loving person. Like
Yes.
in What a Girl Wants. Oh my gosh, he's so dreamy
As the father.
as the father.
Okay. um yeah. Okay, let's talk about the endings of both. So in the 95 version, we end it with a double wedding between Bingley and Jane and Darcy and Elizabeth. I think it's so sweet. I love how they have the joint wedding. It's wintertime outside. It's just so they look so happy. It's just the perfect happy ending, very Jane Austen. And then Cayla, did you know that with the 2005 movie, there's actually two different endings? There's a UK ending and a US ending.
No, what?
Yes. So we're probably used to the US ending, which is when they, Mr. Darcy and now Mrs. Darcy, are sitting outside at night at Pemberley and they're looking at each other and they're talking about what to call Elizabeth, you know, my pearl on Sundays, Mrs. Darcy, only when he's completely and incandescently in love. So that's a very romantic US loved ending. Okay. But what they did is they tested that ending out on UK audiences and it did not go over well. Did you know
Why?
this?
What's going on over there, guys? Why don't you like the romance? Come on.
They just felt it was, not period accurate perhaps, or gave too much of a insight into their intimate private life and it didn't go over well. So the UK ending actually ends with Mr. Bennet laughing in his study when Elizabeth, shares that she actually does love Mr. Darcy.
Wow. Okay.
And I
Okay.
have seen it that way with it ending with Mr. Bennet. And it's nice. It's lovely. There's nothing wrong with it. It's very sweet. But I have to say, I love the US ending because it's more satisfying to see them together in the end.
As long as the UK version still has when she's been up all night and she goes outside in the dawn and the dew, the morning dew, and she sees him walking up, like, okay, at least they got that.
Yeah, they do have that scene. That is such an iconic scene.
Oh,
Probably one of the best romantic sort of, realization moments.
and the music.
Oh, the music.
You can hear it right now.
Yeah. So the music is such a standout in the 2005 movie. As I said, Dario Marianelli is the composer, and he actually was nominated for this one, but didn't end up winning the Oscar until Atonement, which is another Keira Knightley, Joe Wright movie. And then also did the music for Anna Karenina. And I love the soundtrack of Anna Karenina. It's maybe not my favorite movie, but I do love the music in that one as well. And Atonement.
Oh yeah, those are both have great music for sure.
So well done, Dario Marianelli. Yeah, so the soundtrack for the 2005 is so fantastic. And I love how in the movie, the characters are the ones playing the piano, playing the songs. I think that was such a nice element. It's very realistic. You have Mary playing the piano, playing the song, Elizabeth Bennet, and Georgiana Darcy, who is actually, of course, the most skilled pianist from the group. And I think that's such a cool way of tying in the music score with the movie. But
That I
maybe
have a random thing.
please tell me.
I think that Jennifer Ehle looks like a young Meryl Streep.
I can see this. No, I can definitely see
I
this.
couldn't
Yeah.
help but see Meryl Streep when I was watching it.
Yeah. Yes. And Jennifer Ehle, she just embodies the spirit of Elizabeth Bennet from Jane Austen's book. I love her chemistry with Colin Firth. It's amazing.
It totally is. I definitely appreciate all that she's given to the role. But I do want to ask you a question. If you had to choose a Darcy to take home with you, who would that be? But not including like the movies or anything, just like them as a character itself. Who would you choose?
I think that high school me, younger me, would have said Matthew McFadden. But now that I'm older, I really think I'm leaning towards Colin Firth. What about you?
I was gonna say the same thing. He's just so dreamy in that role. I mean, Matthew McFadden did such a great job as well. It's just, come on, guys, it's Colin Firth. He is just so dreamy, and that is my opinion.
Now, other versions of the Pride and Prejudice story, we talked about Bridget Jones' Diary in 2001, starring Renee Zellweger and Colin Firth. Also, in You've Got Mail, they totally reference Pride and Prejudice, and I think that Meg Ryan and Tom Hanks have a Elizabeth Bennet Darcy sort of vibe. Do you agree?
Yeah, is that like on purpose? I kind of got that vibe for sure, but I didn't know if they did that on purpose.
I think so. You've Got Mail is paying tribute to some old movies as well, like Shop Around the Corner. So I think so.
Okay.
And then there's a Bollywood version called Bride and Prejudice from 2004. It's really fun. I saw it a long time ago. I need to rewatch it. And there's a Pride and Prejudice in Zombies from 2016. I still haven't seen. That one stars Lily James.
Oh, I would definitely be interested in seeing that. That sounds interesting.
It is. I believe it's based on a book. And then in 1940, there's an old Pride and Prejudice starring Laurence Olivier and Greer Garson. And Laurence Olivier, if I mean, also, this is like a third Mr. Darcy we should talk about because he really captures the haughtiness, but also dreaminess of Mr. Darcy.
Ooh, yeah, I don't know why I haven't seen that yet, but I need to.
It's good. I do love Laurence Olivier. Cayla, what did you think about the Pride and Prejudice reference in Barbie?
Oh, they mentioned the miniseries. I remember that.
They do. They even show a clip from it when Darcy's confessing his love to Elizabeth. The references, I don't know how everyone's taking it. I loved it. I thought it was hilarious, but it's in reference to like a depression Barbie who
Oh,
watches
yes.
who
Yes.
watches Pride and Prejudice over and over again.
That's funny.
But
I mean,
I think for the most part, people have a good sense of humor and they thought of it like, I feel seen.
Yeah. No, I mean, I wouldn't say it's depression, more like romantic Barbie. But both of these have stood the test of time already, and they continue to, get new audiences in. And I'm excited. Maybe there's going to be a new version one day with Jacob Elordi.
Perhaps. Do you have anyone you would cast as Elizabeth Bennet?
Ooh. Mm.
Too
Oh,
tough.
ooh. Daisy Edgar Jones.
I can see that. That's a good one.
I like her. She's so sweet.
Very nice. All right. Well, there you have it.
Well, in mine, I just say that I just wish Jane Austen could watch these versions. I think how cool would that be for her to see her stories come to life in this way? I think it would that she would just I think she would love what they did with them for sure.
Oh, that's such a sweet thing to say. So there you have it. We started out talking about the 2005 Joe Wright film adaptation of Pride and Prejudice, and then we moved on to the 1995 BBC miniseries. Both are loved by audiences around the world and have stood the test of time, as you said, Cayla. And while we have some people who refuse to watch one of the versions because they far prefer the other version, I don't know. I think we've concluded here that there are elements that are great to both. And I encourage you to watch them both, make your own comparisons, and let us know in the comments what you think.
Thanks, sis. I'm so glad we got to discuss one of our favorite movies together.
All right. Thank you all for listening in and can't wait to share some more podcasts with you in the future.
Bye, guys.